My name's Andy Peasgood and I'm here today in North Berwick with Caledonian Horticulture. We're here today to visit a very special coffee house called Steampunk Coffee, and they are a single origin specialty coffee house and they have sustainability at the heart of their business. Hey, I'm Andy.
Hi Andy, nice to meet you. I'm Kath.
Hey,
welcome
pleasure.
to Steampunk.
Thank you very
Should
much.
we go upstairs and have a chat?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
12 years ago, Steampunk Coffee was created. Can you explain or give us a bit of a history and where you've come to now?
Sure, yeah. So I founded Steampunk, as you said, 12 years ago, using my little old 1976 Volkswagen campervan, taking her to markets and festivals and other events, and roasting coffee in my garage to prepare in the campervan. And then we did a few pop-ups in different places and eventually settled in this building here, so where we are 10 years ago. This is a lovely old joinery workshop building. So it was originally built as, with the lovely beams, and it's a great space for us to operate.
Yeah. When did you decide to make the jump from being a pop-up to then having a residence and functioning from this beautiful place?
Yeah, it just became, we were too busy and it just became impossible to manage from a garage.
So it's a natural evolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also we wanted to have a space where people could come in and drink the coffee and enjoy it here and see us producing the coffee at the same time, because what we offer here is the single origin specialty coffee. We really want to bring people on a journey and give them a better understanding of all of the work and what goes into making really good coffee.
So speaking of the production of the coffee itself, and you mentioned specialty coffee, what exactly is specialty coffee?
So specialty coffee, there's a grading system for coffee that is based on cupping the coffee and making quality assessments, and a numerical score is given to coffees.
Okay.
So all coffee that grades at 85 or above is considered specialty coffee.
Okay.
And those coffees are traded through auction system, and their the pricing of them is based on the quality that we got.
Right, okay.
Whereas coffee, which is generally a massive commodity, is traded based on the market value, and that is determined entirely by scarcity. So if you have a year where a lot of coffee comes into the market, then the price drops. And if you have a year where, for example, if there's a frost in Brazil, which is one of the biggest producers globally of coffee, then there's less coffee coming onto the market and the price increases. So the pricing is nothing to do with the quality of the coffee. So when we're buying coffee, we're buying very small lots. We're a really small, tiny business, and producers as well, they are selling parts of their coffee crops as specialty coffee, the best coffees that they produce. But of course, the majority of their crop also will go into the commodity system. But within specialty coffee, we are really focused on the quality. And for us, we're the end point of the coffee here, where we're both roasting it and also making it as espresso and filter for people. And we feel we have a duty to present the coffee at the best and to not let it down at this last leg in its journey. Because we can't make a coffee bean better, but we can make it infinitely worse by what we do with it here.
Okay.
So if a producer is putting so much work into producing great coffee. And they do that by training pickers, for example, by investing in infrastructure on their farms, how they store the coffee. Great deal of investment needs to be made in, for example, washing stations where the coffee is processed, and another whole bunch of investment in infrastructure for coffees to travel from washing stations into ports and places where they can be exported from. So all of that money and effort goes into making coffee better. And then if we take it at the end of the process and make it worse, we're doing a disservice to everyone involved.
Okay.
So for us, it's really crucial that we are doing the very best we can with it.
So with all the effort that goes on prior to arriving with you, and then it comes here, what happens then?
So we bring the coffees in, and then my colleagues who work in the roastery, they will do some sample roasting of the coffee to try to develop a profile of how we'll roast it. So when you're roasting coffee, you are applying heat over a specific amount of time, and any small change in those variables will really affect what you get out of the coffee and how it's going to taste. So it's a really involved process. But it starts with them doing some sample roasts to try to determine how to start roasting. And then when they start roasting it and they'll set the profile of how they think it tastes best, then they just need to make sure they replicate that each time. Sometimes they'll tweak it a bit because as the coffee ages, you might need to make some changes in how you roast it. And then we cup coffees that we roast every day. We cup every single batch that we roast, as well as cupping samples constantly to make decisions about what new coffees we're going to buy in. And cupping is a process of quality assessment.
Okay, so I think the cupping of coffees, I think that's something that we should definitely take a look at next.
Yeah, definitely.
And moving around this beautiful space that you have, I'm seeing something that I've never seen before. So could you explain to us what's happening here?
Of course. So this is what's called a cupping, and we do this every day here at Steampunk, and it's a standardized process for us to assess the quality of the coffee we're roasting. So we do it to cup every single batch of coffee we roast as a quality control thing to make sure that we're roasting consistently and the coffee is tasting as we want it to. And we also use it to assess coffees that we might want to purchase and roast.
Okay, so these aren't all coffees that you're going to use in-house. These are all different testers, and then you're going to choose which ones you like the most.
Yeah, it's a mixture. We have a bunch of production roasts here as well. So these are just batches of the coffees we're already roasting and selling. And then a few of them will be some samples as well.
Okay.
We're assessing to see if we might want to buy them and roast them in future. And the roasters also coordinate their palettes by cupping together.
Okay.
They know that they have the same kind of ideas about how acidic something is, how developed it is, how sweet it is, and that they're on the kind of same book, if you know what I mean. But it's tasting is is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you develop it, the better you become at it. So we're very fortunate that we have such skills.
Yeah, and it's great quality control as well. So then you know exactly what's going on downstairs when you're serving the coffee. You know those tastes, everything's been checked, you know exactly what's been served, so you know what your customers are going to get when they buy your coffee. So
we only roast single origin coffees here, so each coffee just comes from either one producer or one washing station, so from smallholders around that washing station, and it's really important for us to be able to share the provenance of the coffee, and through the relationships we've developed over time with the small importers that we work with, we can get really good information and clarity on how the coffee is purchased, on reinvestments kind of in the processing of the coffee, which leads to improvement in value of the coffee, which leads to more money for the producers.
Yes, I suppose that's really important. Those relationships that you're building there will help with your own sustainability as well.
It's all about relationships, and because we as a small business can't travel endlessly in all the coffee producing areas. So we trust other small businesses that we've worked with all the time to be doing that work to the same level and with the same care of what we're doing this last part of the process here.
Absolutely. And with checks going on daily like this, then you know exactly what's happening in your coffee house.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we serve, like I was saying, we do only the single origin coffees, and we usually have 4. At the moment, we have 5 different coffees available. And we have 2 on espresso downstairs, and 1 brewed by filter, 1 brewed by cold brew. So the coffees are always changing. And that in turn really improves the skills of our baristas, because they get to work with lots of different coffees all the time. It's a constantly changing thing, and they get to learn how to dial in lots of different coffees and make them taste great.
And so once this process is finished and you've decided which ones that you like, what happens then?
Which coffees we want to buy. I mean, okay, so if it's a buying process, then we would contract the coffees with the importers. Often now, because we've developed these good relationships, we are getting samples from producers of coffees that have only just been processed, but they haven't been shipped yet.
Okay.
So they're called pre-ship samples. And so we're able to say, yes, we would like to contract that particular coffee, but that coffee won't arrive for months yet. So that's part of our kind of planning process of what coffees are coming when. And it's quite a delicate balance, because of course there's delays in shipping. There's been quite a lot of that recently.
But when it does arrive, you roast in-house, correct? Yeah,
we roast everything in-house here, and we aim to roast things just as soon as they've arrived in the UK.
Okay.
Because coffee is an agricultural product, it has seasons.
Yep.
And coffee comes into season at different times of the year in different countries and different parts of the world. So that's why here we have a constantly changing range of coffees. Might be coming at one point from East Africa, and then they might be coming from Central America.
Okay, so there's a real ebb and flow to what's on
Southeast Asia. Exactly. Yeah, depending on when they're arriving from that area, and fresh and in season.
Okay.
If you are roasting coffee that's maybe older, maybe from last season's crop, then you lose a lot of quality in the coffee. The coffees can start to taste flat. And a lot of the subtleties and a lot of the really special things about the coffees get lost. So what we want to do, because we're sharing with people where the coffees are from, we're sharing information about the producers, we really want to be showcasing the coffees at their absolute best. Because then we're not doing a service to producers if we're roasting their coffee and people are trying it and thinking, well, that coffee's not that great. It's important to us that we're showcasing
the values there all the way through. And so speaking of roasting, I think it'd be really nice to go downstairs, is it? To see your roasting machine and kind of look at what's happening there?
Let's do it.
Great, thank you. Fascinating to see all that cutting process happening. And now we're going downstairs to where all the customers are, where the coffee's made to sit in, to take away, but also from where the roasting machine is.
Yes. Yeah, it's just over here in the corner.
This is an impressive machine. This is your coffee roaster?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so this is a 12-kilo roaster. It's an American machine. And this is the machine on which we roast all of our green coffee. This is when we get the coffee here, when it arrives to us. It is green, like this. And you can feel it. They're like small and quite hard beans. And we put it in the machine, which has a drum in it that turns around and a bed of flame. It's a gas-powered roaster.
Okay.
And then we roast it, and it comes out. It loses a lot of moisture, so it's much lighter and bigger when it comes out. And that's the roasted coffee there. One of the interesting byproducts of the roasting process as well is that there's a small papery kind of film on these that comes off when they're roasted, and we end up with this stuff, which is called chaff, which is very, very light and fluffy. And I take this back to my house and put it in my compost because it's a great sort of brown, carbony kind of addition to compost.
Yes, this is a really good area for more towards what I talk about with chaff being able to be used in the garden. You can use it in composting. It's a sustainable product, and you can recycle it. So you use chaff, you use it in your garden, you put it in your compost, that kind of added brown material. Are there any other elements within Steampunk Coffee that you use that's for recycling?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm very lucky running a coffee business. There's a lot of resources that we have here that are great for gardeners. So we actually have everything from the coffee sacks, which I use to cover my compost, and we give them to people as well for their own garden projects, and coffee grounds, which can go in compost. Loads of cardboard, which, as you'll know, is really useful in the garden. But this kind of exemplifies the way Steampunk as a business works and has done from the beginning, because we've always had an approach that we try to make as little an impact as possible, but we try to do everything sort of all the way through from the beginning. It's not an add-on, oh, how can we make this greener at the end? So for example, with the foods that we offer, we don't do savory food here anymore, but even when it comes to our cakes and things, our focus is always on avoiding waste. So then we kind of reduce what our waste stream is at the end of it. But invariably there will be some kind of waste, and for that, we do try to look very carefully at how we deal with that waste. We do try to reduce before everything else, and then we try to reuse as much as possible. So you'll have noticed our packaging is now refillable tins, and we brought that in last summer, and our real focus here is, as a local producer, we want people to be able to come to Steampunk with their tins, get them refilled, and just minimize what we're kind of putting out there. Exactly.
Right. These are the cups that Steampunk Coffee use, and they're made by Decent Packaging. Now they take 12 weeks to compost down in a commercial recycling centre. The cup itself is made from polylactic acid, and the lid is crystallized polylactic acid. Now essentially about 65% less energy and 68% less greenhouse gases.
How's that?
Yeah, excellent cup of coffee. Thank you very much.
Glad to hear.
So now we've finished the coffee.
Yep.
Where do we go?
So we invite people to leave their compostable cups here on the terrace, and then I drive them up the road to Caledonian Horticulture's site. It's just 2 miles up the road.
Okay.
And they compost them for us.
Yeah, I think that is a good place for us to head to next.
Yep, sounds good.
Good. Kath, welcome to our Caledonian Horticulture East Fenton site. Now here we have our Decent Packaging cups, and they're about 3 weeks in, so they've still got a way to go before they compost fully down. But behind us is a windrow of about 8 to 10 weeks. Now this still has a further few weeks to go before it composts right down. So I think we should go and have a look at what the final product will be, which will be where our Decent Packaging cups are.
Great.
Here we have a real before and after. We've got the Decent Packaging cup, that's about 3 weeks composted, so it's still got a while to go. And here we've got a final product, a really fine material, and this is the Caledonian Green Goodness. But if we look over here, we have some final product all bagged up and ready to go. So I think we should take this Caledonian Green Goodness and take it through to your garden.
Can't wait. Welcome to my garden.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's great that we've got this green goodness here, that we can top dress all the beds to bring nourishment and condition the soil.
Yeah. I love the fact that our cups that customers have used at Steampunk are actually in that as well.
Brilliant. So I think we should cut this bag open and get going.
Okay.
Yes, brilliant. Let's bring that. Hannah, you're getting hands in first. There you go.
Yeah, I'll put it around my beans.
We started the day with a cup of coffee, and now we're here in Kath's beautiful kitchen garden. And I'm taking a moment to appreciate how beautiful the life cycle is of sustainable products, and what we have to begin with and where it ends up. And it can end up for you as well in your garden with beautiful crops, beautiful plants in a beautiful space.